So, let's take a look on how to create a hallway that looks like this within Cinema4D using Octane render and the Easy Ivy plugin. Yeah, so we start off by just importing Quixel assets into our scene. I've already created the right and left hand side walls, a ground and a ceiling. And yeah, I'm just importing a few objects like those cabinets and some electrical outlets, just aligning them alongside our first segment of the hallway. In total, we have one segment that we will just duplicate one more time, change it up, and then we can stack it on later on. So you can just see me fill up our segment so we get a good base to start off on, just making sure it looks a bit abandoned, so we don't want all those cabinets to be nice and tidy. Yeah, but that's basically it, just rearranging them and then doing the same to our duplicated hallway so we can get a bit of variation when we clone them or duplicate them alongside the z-axis. Just importing material for the ground and the ceiling. The focus won't be the creation of the hallways, you can already tell, because the focus will be on the dark matter and the living goo that we will scatter across the hallway to give it that eerie dark look that might be Stranger Things inspired. Yeah, importing some lights, making sure the lights fit the atmosphere, so I'm making them cold and not warm. Those are flickering lights as well. I've just duplicated the hallway segments from front to back. So we have a bit variation going on with the first hallway segment we created, the second one, and then the first one at the back again, which isn't noticeable when everything is all dark and done. So yeah, let's get to the good part. So what you want to do is essentially you want to grab everything that you've created. So I'm selecting my hallway segments and the end, and by holding Control and dragging, I'm copying those, and I'll hit right click, connect objects and delete. For now, I will select all the materials and get rid of them. And then we want to hide our proper hallway null object. So we have this going on, which is basically everything that we need. And now we are starting with the fun part, which is using one plugin, and that is called Easy Ivy. So you want to make sure that you check out this one. It's 19 euros, which is around 20 bucks, and it lets you create Ivy in a very nice procedural manner. But for this case, we won't be using the leaf aspect of it, but just the underlying workings of the plugin. So after you've installed this, you can head over to your extensions, and then you want to hit Easy Ivy and hit the root painter. And what we have now is like those settings over here, which is some settings of your path that you will be drawing. And for now, we just want to make sure that our root radius is big. So I think I want to start with like 4. And I'll just show you what it does real quick. So make sure that you have your object selected. You want to paint on. And I'll be clicking on the Easy Ivy again, make this 4. And then you can just go ahead and draw alongside surfaces like this, and you get something that looks like this. So it's a big blobby spline, and by just using this plugin, you can start to draw some meshes around your scene. Get rid of this, and I wanna get rid of, I'll just copy the camera and delete the keyframe for now. And I'll hide the other one as well. So you can just start drawing like this. So you wanna, oh, my bad. You wanna select your object, you wanna select the root painter, and then you can just go ahead and start drawing some lines across multiple surfaces. You wanna make sure that you don't go too far in, because otherwise your lines will be like skewed, because the perspective is a little bit hard for the plugin to grasp. So you want to make sure that you stay in line with where you are, with what your eye can see. So you don't want to go too far down the road like this, otherwise you get like this straight line. That's not what we want. So yeah, I'll just go ahead and draw some stuff. I won't be filling the full hallway for now. I just want to make like an example of what you can use this for. I'm gonna just go all the way over here and just make sure to get like some of it going on in the foreground for now. Like so, and then we can go over here and go over the ceiling as well. Like this. This we can go over the door. So now we got something that looks like this. This is a good start. So we want to just keep going, keep drawing some of these mushy splines that we can later turn into some really nice looking goo. And this is applicable to pretty much any object and any size you're working on, except if you go too small, because the root radius can only be so big in the plugin choice. But it still works for a lot of use cases, especially if it's like big scale stuff like actual hallways, but it works on human faces as well. And yeah, now I'll probably speed up the process a bit. Like I said before, you want to make sure that you don't go too far in the distance or behind objects that you can't really see right now, because otherwise the spline will just be a straight line. And other than that, it's just taking a bit of time to make sure that you draw over everything that you want. And it may look a bit weird right now, but we can easily combat that in a minute by just doing some tricks to make this look like actual disgusting dark matter goo. So here I accidentally went over the edge, and as you can see when I zoom in, it's basically it stretched this out, and we can get rid of that later. That's not a big deal, but you want to just make sure that you avoid stuff like this. So you can either just zoom in, and then we want to probably navigation, put this onto object mode, I guess. No, that's wrong. We want to, for this, because the object is so big, we want to probably, maybe I'm not, is it cursor mode? No, it's not. Oh yeah, camera mode. Okay, that's better. So yeah, we can then just do stuff like this and draw over those. Can zoom out. We want to just make sure that we get like proper angle and just a lot of this over some of this stuff. And we can just slowly work our way up to the end. Let's see what we got. We got something like this, which is okay for our use case. We don't need to go too crazy right now. So let's continue with how we can make this look actually disgusting. So now that we have something that remotely resembles a gooed up hallway, let's head on to the next step. So as you can see right here, for all these single splines and paths, the plugin created a new object. And before we move any further, we want to search. So every object we created has like this leaf ghost object, which is you can see it right here. So I just go into the first one. Barely visible. You can see on the right hand side, those would be like the spots where the plugin would usually put the leaves, but we want to get rid of all those. So we want to type in leaf in there and just delete all of your objects. So now all the objects we created don't have this leaf ghost object in them anymore. And we want to just select all of them, connect objects and delete. And now we have one big GUI mess. And of course, we can't just keep it that way, because if we hit points, it's like, what is it, 8 million points, and that's way too much. But before we do anything, we want to go into displacer and put this under this object, and under shading we want to just pick a noise, and something like this is would probably suffice. I think you can switch around those, but we barely get any of this detail for now, so it's just to bring some additional texture to the object itself before we do anything to it. So probably, I think this seems good. So maybe we can increase this to like 15. Something like this. That may work. So let's just try this. Let's get in a volume builder. We want to hide this object for now, but we want to drag this in here. And we put the voxel size to like 2 centimeters for this. It's a lot of points, so it'll take a few seconds or minutes depending on your system. My CPU is working right now. And now it calculated our goo. So let's go into volume measure, drag our builder in there, and this is what we get. So this is fine. This looks pretty good in my opinion, and probably too much displacement going on. So I'll probably change the shader to regular noise. Yeah, I think this works a bit better. So we can adjust this in the volume measure. Oh. Still adjusting. We can actually decrease the size a bit. We don't want it to be as crazy big. And actually, I'll do one more thing. I'll decrease the noise to like 8 because it is too much for my opinion, and then we can move on to the next step. There we go. That's a bit better. That works way better. And I think we can increase this actually again, so they do get a bit thicker. Any moment now. All right. Yeah, like this. This seems good. So I want to make this editable. So it's just its standalone object, and then we can delete our OG splines because we don't need them anymore. We have this one right now. And if we check our points, that's like 1 million. That's fine, I think, for now. So if we move all the way over, you can see that we have all this goo happening right here. And I want to hide our hallway, and then I want to put like a displacer, another one into the remeshed object we just did, put in a noise, and then we want to put like, no. So just go through them. and put the animation speed to 1. Oh, we don't want our camera to be moving, so let's just see what this does. Makes them animate wildly. And if we wanna, yeah, all frames is unticked. So if I hit all frames, playback is way slower because it's slowly ticking off all frames. And if I have this unchecked, it'll play in real time, even though it's laggy because it can't display the animation in real time because of the density of the model that we're displacing. So, but I think 0.5 usually isn't too bad, and we can actually make use with that. So what I want to do now, probably get in like a smoothing above our remeasure. Not smoothing is crazy, and then we want to copy this by holding control and then put it below our remeasure. And then just barely, yeah. So if I hide this and unhide it, you can see a lot of the micro detail is being lost. And you can adjust this to your liking. So before we do anything else, let's make our old hallway visible again, and let's move into one place where we can kind of judge our material. It doesn't need to be anything crazy because it's going to be a really dark scene, so you don't need to rack your brain on this. Let's go into object mode again, and let's just go here and fire off our live viewer. So it's super dark, and that is because the only light source in the scene is the flickering ceiling lights. But for now, I just want to get like one HDRI in here. And then I want to hide my hallway. Oh, that's my bad. That's the visible environment. We'll turn this into the primary environment, and we can maybe unhide the hallway. See how much light gets into the scene. Yeah, that's probably good enough. So I just want to pick like one spot where we can observe the material. So I want to get a black material in here. Put this on here, and we'll want to make this black. And then we want to just get something for the roughness going. So I'll go to the usual suspects, the Travis David's roughness patterns. Actually, I'll go to the displacement patterns and pick something along those lines, I think. Either the organic goop or maybe the rocky ground. Plug this into our roughness channel. And then UV transform it. You know what? Actually, let's just hide our hallway and make sure that we see where the light is, like this. So, all right. So if we hit Control D, we can see how the roughness texture is affecting our object. So something like this seems probably, so let's hit Control D again. See how it's being affected. Something like this is okay. So I want to copy this one, and then I want to go pick another texture for our bump map. Want to UV transform this as well, and just make it smaller by hitting Control D. We can see, oh my bad. By hitting Control D, we can see how it's affecting our object. So This seems probably good enough. And I have now, what have I done? I'm not sure what I have done. Why are you so dark? There we go. So that's pretty rough. That's way more detail than I'd like. So I'll just turn down the power to something that gives a bit more texture. Nothing too extreme, as we won't be going for any close-ups. We don't need to properly rework or work this material, because it's always better to be efficient than not to be. You could also remesh this by using the built-in Cinema4D remesher, so you get a bit better control over how your textures look with regular mesh projection. But for now, this is probably fine. So I will head back in, and if I take a look at this, I think this works super well. So I can just clear this and put back on the visible. And then we want to enable our hallway again. And it is super dark right now, but that's just fine. I also created a volume earlier. And we are off to the races. We can probably hit render on this. The only thing I will do is increase the lights power source to like 50. So they are a bit stronger. By the way, the tutorial for the flickering light setup is available for my patrons over at patreon.com/collyfets. So if you are interested in that, the scene file for this tutorial is available there as well. How you see it here is how you get it there. And yeah, so let's just send this off to render and then see what we can do with it.